Hello me fellow human beings. So for today's video I'm making skirts. I made these skirts a couple months back. They are Christmas presents for my friends, so that's why, it wasn't posted before Christmas. I also procrastinated on editing it a lot, therefore that's why it's only being posted now and not the day after Christmas. So while I was making their skirts, I got really jealous and I wanted a skirt of my own. Therefore I made myself a skirt too, so there are 3 skirts in this video. First up, we have the skirt I made for Amber. So I bought 2 meters of denim fabric. It's quite a thick, heavy fabric, but it will be a very strong skirt. So for the design of the skirt, I'm using a tiered design. So once I sketched out what it would kind of look like, I filled in my friend's measurements and added in all the other measurements that I would need. And then there was time to cut line fabric. So I cut out strips and then sewed them together to make the loops, or the circles, or whatever else you feel like calling it. I'm using a French seam for this because it's much stronger and it looks much neater. Then once the loops were done, with the biggest stitch my machine could do and the strongest thread I had, because as I said, this fabric's really thick and it breaks every other thread so easily. I went over the top of the middle circle 3 times and cinched it in so it was the same width as the top tier. Then I French seamed that in place. Once that was done, I did the same for the bottommost tier, cinched it in and French seamed it to the middle tier. Now, then I folded over the top tier twice and threaded in some elastic for the waistband, and I hemmed the bottom of the skirt. So this was by far the easiest skirt out of all 3 of them. It took, well, not the easiest, it was by far the quickest skirt out of all of them. It was much quicker than the others. And that is that skirt done. Now for Taiyo's skirt. So her skirt is going to be a shorter skirt, and it's going to be a patchwork half circle skirt with a lining. So the first thing to do was cut a bunch of patches. They were all 20 centimeters tall and roughly that wide, but I did sometimes make them wider or thinner depending on the fabric I had. But as long as that they were all 20 centimeters tall, then it made it easy to assemble. So I start by laying out these squares of fabric. And then start stitching the squares together. I do this in rows. So once 2 of the bottom rows are done, I stitch them together, then I make another row, stitch that together, and work my way up in rows. It's the easiest way to get it looking neat. I made a couple of interesting patches just to give it the skirt more variety, even though they took much longer than the normal patches. Once the patchwork was done, which actually took forever, but once that was done, I cut out the pattern of the skirt. Now then, for the lining, I used this old bed sheet. However, this sheet has these pleated things for aesthetics, I suppose. Anyway, I don't want that in my lining, so I had to quick unpick them all out. And this actually took forever, you don't understand, ugh. And if you've watched my videos for a while, you know it's really not one of my favorite things to do, at all. So now, I am the smartest person on this planet, therefore I lost all the footage of me attaching the lining to the patchwork and then hemming it and adding a waistband. Because I'm just so smart that I lost all the footage and I'm greatly sorry for that. And now for the last skirt, the skirt I made for myself. So this is also, like Taiyo's, a patchwork skirt, but it's going to be quite a bit longer. And I decided not to do a lining because I didn't want it to be very heavy. So since I'm not doing a lining, I have to make my seams very neat. So I did French seams for every single seam. Can we just have a moment of silence for the amount of time that took me to do? Okay, so for the first thing I did, same, cut out the patches and start arranging them in how I think the skirt should go. For the circle skirt pattern, just go on the trusty internet and Google circle skirt calculator. It saves your life about a bajillion times. Then you don't have to do any of the maths yourself, which is amazing. At first I was going to make this a 3/4 circle skirt, but then I decided against it because I didn't have enough fabric, and also it would make it a lot heavier because there'd be so much extra fabric. And I was also too lazy, because that's a lot of extra work too. Once my piece of patchwork fabric was done, I cut out the shape. And French seamed it closed, then hemmed the bottom and added the waistline. So this is how they turned out with. I am super happy with them. We were all supposed to wear them to the barn dance that we usually do for New Year, but obviously that didn't happen this year. But they are still fabulous for everyday wear as slightly hippie, scandalous Victorian ladies. Well, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe. We just hit 100 subscribers and I am so happy about that. Well, chat in my next video. Bye!
I got that too. Stand together and like